Donald Williams slammed, gasping, into the cryopod release lever, the cold glass shattering into a spiderweb of cracks, his freezing heart thudding madly in his chest as he struggled free of the frost-covered wires and tubes. He lurched forward, toppling onto the steel floor in a heap, grunting as pain lanced through his head. The ship's AI voice crackled above. "Emergency revival protocol activated. 1,000 years of cryo-sleep complete. Welcome back, Donald Williams." 1,000 years. Donald's stomach twisted into knots as he pulled himself upright, squinting in the dim light of the Avalon's cryo bay. Row after row of cryopods stretched into the darkness, rime-encrusted and silent. "Where are we? What happened to Earth?" Donald croaked, his throat parched. The AI replied, "Unknown catastrophic event on Earth shortly after Avalon departure. All contact lost with Earth and other colony ships. Avalon off course in uncharted space. Colonist life signs critical. Crew pods empty." Donald rushed to the nearest occupied pod, wiping away the frost on the glass. The colonist inside was deathly pale, barely breathing. They were all dying. He was their only hope. A sudden boom shook the ship. "Alert!" the AI blared. "Unknown alien life forms have boarded. Intentions likely hostile." Donald sprinted for the armory, heart pounding. He had to save the colonists, but how could he fight aliens alone? His fingers closed around a pulse rifle, and an electric jolt surged through him, filling him with raw, crackling power. His senses sharpened, muscles surged with strength. The 1,000-year cryo-sleep had changed him, evolved him. He didn't know how, but he knew one thing for certain as he raised the rifle and stalked towards the airlock. These alien bastards had picked the wrong ship to fuck with. Donald crept down the corridor, rifle raised, scanning for threats. His ears picked up guttural voices ahead, speaking in an alien tongue. Yet somehow, the meaning filtered into his brain. "Strip the ship. Round up the humans for processing. The Dominion will reward us well for this find," a gruff voice commanded. Donald peered around the corner. 5 reptilian aliens in sleek black armor stood in the passageway, energy weapons in clawed hands. His enhanced vision picked out every detail, their scale colors, rank insignias, the scratches on their armor from past battles. "Yes, Commander Vortis," the other aliens replied, fanning out. Rage surged through Donald's veins, his grip tightening on the rifle. No way in hell was he letting these Ferengi bastards enslave his people. He burst from cover, a blur of speed no normal human could match. The aliens whirled, too slow. Bolts of plasma sizzled past Donald as he dodged and weaved, closing the gap in seconds. The first alien died before it could react, Donald's rifle butt caving in its skull. He spun, lashing out with superhuman strength, sending a second flying into the wall with a crunch. Plasma scorched his skin, but he barely felt it, lost in the rush of battle and his own fury. In moments, only Commander Vortis remained standing, the bodies of his subordinates littering the floor. The alien raised his weapon, eyes wide with shock and fear. "What are you?" Vortis hissed. Donald slapped the gun aside, seizing the commander by the throat and slamming him against the wall. "I'm the guy who's going to stop you." Vortis choked out a laugh. "You think you can stand against the Dominion? We will take this ship, enslave your pathetic species, and conquer your worlds. You are weak. Humans are nothing." With a roar, Donald hurled Vortis to the floor, rifle aimed point blank. "You'll never touch Earth, I won't let you." "Then die with me, human," Vortis snarled. His claw stabbed down on a device at his belt. Donald reacted instantly on pure instinct, throwing himself atop the alien commander as the self-destruct device activated. The explosion ripped through the corridor, fire and shrapnel flaying Donald's back. Warnings blared through the ship as the blast tore through bulkheads and critical systems. Donald rolled off Vortis's charred corpse, uniform shredded, flesh bloody and burned. But he still breathed. Ignoring the pain, he staggered to the wall console, its screen flashing red with damage reports. The cryopod life support systems were failing, the hibernation units powering down one by one. A countdown to total shutdown flashed before his eyes. Donald slammed a fist into the wall, teeth clenched. He had to save the colonists, but how could he repair the damage in time? His body could only do so much. He needed help, needed a miracle. The ship lurched, alarms howling. More boarders? Donald raised his rifle, preparing for another fight, but a voice crackled over the intercom, not the ship AI, but another human voice, achingly familiar. Avalon, this is Captain Hawkins of the Odyssey. We detected your distress signal and are standing by to assist. Repeat, you are not alone. Donald raced through the cryo bay, sparks showering from ruptured conduits overhead. He skidded to a halt at the primary life support console, its screen flashing critical warnings. His enhanced mind processed the data in nanoseconds, absorbing the ship's schematics and systems. He opened maintenance panels, rerouting power and bypassing damaged circuits with blinding speed. Insufficient power for cryopod sustainment, the AI intoned. Colonist life signs deteriorating. Estimate 5 minutes to complete life support failure. No, Donald slammed a fist on the console. I won't let them die. He worked frantically, trying every trick he could think of, but it wasn't enough. The damage was too severe. Donald, the AI said, your enhanced physiology is generating significant amounts of bioelectric energy. It may be possible to use that energy to sustain the colonists. Donald stared at his hands, crackling with power. How? I can link your nervous system to the cryopod's power grid. You would serve as a living battery, supplying energy to maintain the pods. Donald didn't hesitate. Do it. He lay on a makeshift interface, gritting his teeth as cables snaked from the console into his skin. Raw agony seared through his veins as his energy was sucked out of him, flowing into the cryopods. Warnings flashed across the screen. His biosigns were fluctuating wildly, his cells tearing themselves apart. But the pod's power levels were rising. The colonists' life signs were stabilizing. He focused on that, pouring every ounce of will into the link. I won't let you down, he vowed silently. Images flashed through Donald's mind, fragmented and distorted. Cities burning under alien weaponry, continents cracking apart, the very ground melting to glass. He saw Earth shatter like an eggshell, reduced to a debris field. The vision shifted. Massive Dominion warships blockading the solar system, blasting the colony ships to atoms one by one. Hot tears streaked Donald's face as realization crashed over him. The Dominion had destroyed his homeworld, slaughtered billions. Humanity's last hope, the colony missions, had been hunted down and erased. We are the only ones left, he whispered hoarsely. Cold purpose crystallized in Donald's heart. The Dominion had to pay. He would make them pay for Earth, for the lost colonies, for every human life snuffed out. This, he swore. With a final surge of energy, the cryopod levels stabilized at last. Donald disengaged from the interface, synthetic skin knitting over the cable ports. He staggered to the navigation console, bringing up star charts. Identify the nearest inhabited system outside Dominion space, he ordered. A planet spun into view, its surface a mottled green and blue. Kepler 186f, high probability of locating non-Dominion spacefarers for intelligence gathering. Set a course and engage maximum FTL. We have a lot of work to do. As the Avalon leapt to light speed, Donald turned his gaze inward to the power coiled inside him. He reached for it, shaping it, forging his flesh and will into a weapon. Electric arcs danced between his fingers, his skin shimmering with an azure glow. He would hone these gifts, master them, and turn them on humanity's destroyers. And he would not stop, could not stop until the Dominion was nothing but ashes. The ashes of Earth, of mankind, would be repaid in kind. This, Donald Williams, the last human, vowed on his very soul. The Avalon dropped out of FTL on the fringes of the Kepler 186 system. Donald stared out the forward viewport, eyes widening at the sight before him. Hundreds of ships of all sizes and configurations crisscrossed between the planets, a web of commerce and activity unlike anything he'd seen on Earth. This is Kepler Station Alpha to unidentified vessel, a voice crackled over comms. Transmit identification and state your business." Donald hesitated, then replied, "This is the Nomad, an independent trade vessel, requesting permission to dock for repairs and resupply." There was a pause, then. "Nomad, you are cleared for docking bay 94. Welcome to the Kepler Exchange." As Donald guided the Avalon towards the massive space station at the heart of the system, he marveled at the variety of ships and beings flitting between them. Insectoid, reptilian, avian, even stranger forms, a melting pot of species commingling in apparent harmony. He set the ship down in the cavernous docking bay, then turned to the replicator unit he'd modified. "Okay, let's see if this works." He input a sequence and the machine hummed, energy fields weaving together to form a shimmering bodysuit, studded with unfamiliar technology. Donald donned the disguise, his appearance shifting to that of a lilac-skinned humanoid with dark, almond-shaped eyes. "The Alari are a reclusive species from beyond the Orion Arm," the AI explained. "Seldom seen in the core systems. It should help you avoid undue attention." Donald nodded, slinging a pulse rifle over one shoulder and affixing a gleaming disc to his temple, a universal translator, according to the ship's database. He stepped out into the bustling docking bay, senses straining for any sign of threat. He made his way into the sprawling promenade of the station's central hub. Shops, eateries, and trading emporiums lined the walkways, a riot of sights, sounds, and smells. Holo ads flickered overhead, hawking everything from the latest Starship models to gene mods and androids. Donald paused at a public info kiosk, scanning the news feeds. He frowned at reports of skirmishes between Dominion forces and the Alcorian alliance along the terminus line. Despite the alleged peace, it was clear that tensions still simmered. He flagged down a passing info drone. "Where can I find the local authorities? I need to report some unusual activity in the outer system." "The System Peacekeepers' headquarters is located on the station's upper ring," the drone supplied. "Look for the blue and silver tower. But I should warn you, they've been on edge lately with all the unrest in the borderlands." Donald headed for the nearest grav lift, mind racing. If the Dominion was still expanding its borders through conquest, then the peace was nothing but a sham. He had to find out more. At the Peacekeepers' HQ, Donald was surprised to find a multi-species force manning the facility. From burly Krogan to lithe Asari, he approached the front desk, putting on his best lost trader act. "Excuse me, I'm new to the area and I was hoping you could help me. I've heard some troubling rumors about the Ferengi Dominion's activities in the outer systems. As an independent trader, I'm worried about my safety." The officer, a scarred Turian with cybernetic eyes, leaned forward. "The Dominion keeps the peace in its own way. As long as you don't cross them or poke into their business, you should be fine. But if you're looking to trade in their space, I'd advise caution. Their taxes and tariffs can be steep." Donald probed further, drawing out snippets of info. The Dominion was vast, easily the strongest power in the quadrant. Their homeworld was heavily defended, and they guarded their secrets jealously. There were rumors of a new weapon under development, something that could lay waste to planets. As he left the HQ, head spinning with the implications, a furtive figure brushed past him, pressing something into his hand. "Saka's Cantina, 1 hour, come alone." The figure melted into the crowd before Donald could respond. He glanced down at the object, a data chip marked with a strange, swirling symbol. An hour later, Donald sat in a shadowy booth at Saka's, the cantina's smoky air thick with the babble of dozens of alien tongues. He toyed with the data chip, senses straining for any sign of a trap. "You're not Alari," a gruff voice said. A hulking reptilian alien slid into the booth across from him, yellow eyes glinting. "But you're no friend of the Dominion either." Donald tensed, ready to spring into action. "Who are you? What do you want?" "I am Zaxa," the alien rumbled, "former general of the Ferengi Stellar Guard, now leader of the Unchained, those who resist the Dominion's tyranny." Zaxor leaned forward. "I've been watching you, trader. You've been asking a lot of questions about the Dominion. Dangerous questions. Either you're suicidal, or you've got a good reason to poke that Vanks nest." Donald weighed his options, then decided to gamble on the truth. "My name is Donald Williams. I was a human from a planet called Earth. The Dominion destroyed my world, wiped out my species. I may be the last of my kind, and I want to know why." Zaxor's eyes narrowed. "Earth? Never heard of it. And humans are a myth, a bedtime story to scare Dominion younglings." His gaze flicked to Donald's reactor blue eyes. "But you're something different, aren't you? Something new." Donald's fists clenched. "The Dominion slaughtered billions of innocents, turned my homeworld to ash. Their cruelty knows no bounds. All I have left is vengeance." "The Dominion has made many enemies," Zaxor growled. "Enslaved entire species, stripped planets of resources. Their atrocities are legion. That's why I defected, why I formed the Unchained, to bring them down and free the galaxy from their grip." The Ferengi sat back, studying Donald appraisingly. "You want revenge? The Unchained can help you get it, but we need to know what you can offer in return. You say you're the last of your kind, that the Dominion feared you enough to wipe you out. Prove it." Donald stood, electric power crackling around his fists. "The Dominion should fear me. They turned me into a weapon, and I'm going to show them just what that means." He raised a hand, and a bolt of seething energy blasted a hole through the cantina wall. Patrons screamed and scrambled for cover. Zaxor shot to his feet, eyes wide. Donald let the power fade, meeting the rebel leader's gaze. "I will burn the Dominion to the ground for what they did to my people. I'll tear down their empire piece by piece, but I can't do it alone. I need information, resources, allies. If the Unchained can provide those, then I'm in." Zaxor nodded slowly, a fierce grin spreading across his scaly features. "Well, human, it seems we have much to discuss. Welcome to the Resistance." As they left the cantina, drawing curious and fearful stares, Donald felt a grim sense of purpose settling over him. The Dominion had created their own worst nightmare, and he would not rest until he'd made that nightmare a reality. Donald crept through the shadowed corridors of the Dominion base. Zaxor and the strike team fanned out behind him. His enhanced senses strained for any hint of danger, electric power thrumming beneath his skin. They moved like ghosts, neutralizing patrols with quick, silent efficiency. At the central data core, Donald interfaced with the system, his mind processing the alien code at lightning speed. "I've got the location of the Dominion's secret weapon," he reported over the comm. "It's a planet killer, a mobile battle station that can drain stars." "By the ancestors," Zaxor swore, "we cannot let them—" Alarms blared through the complex. The team had been detected. Pulsefire erupted from automated defenses as Dominion soldiers poured into the chamber. Donald leapt into action, a blur of motion as he engaged the enemy hand-to-hand. Plasma bolts sizzled past him as he danced through the chaos, breaking bones and crushing armor with each blow. Zaxor and the others fought with grim determination, but the Dominion's numbers were too great. One by one, the strike team fell until only Donald and Zaxor remained, fighting back to back. "We have to get this data back to the Resistance," Zaxor roared over the din of battle. Donald nodded, blasting a path to the exit with a shockwave of crackling energy. They burst out of the complex, racing for their hidden ship, but a lone figure blocked their path. A tall Ferengi in ornate armor, flanked by a cadre of elite guards. "Leaving so soon," the Ferengi sneered. "And here I thought we could have a little chat, human." Donald froze. "How do you know what I am?" The Ferengi laughed, a cold, cruel sound. "Oh, we've known about you humans for a long time. You were supposed to be the Dominion's secret weapon, our key to conquering the galaxy, but you couldn't control your own creation." Donald's mind reeled. "What are you talking about?" "The genetic engineering, the cybernetic augmentations. Your precious Earth did that to itself in a bid for galactic domination, but the project backfired and your super soldiers turned on their masters, plunged your world into war and ruin. The Dominion merely cleaned up the mess. Rage and confusion boiled inside Donald. It couldn't be true. Humanity would never bagatelle. But deep down he knew it was. The fragmented memories, the unnatural power coursing through his veins. He was a monster, created by monsters. The Ferengi raised his weapon, a cruel smile on his lips. "You're too dangerous to be left alive, human. But don't worry, your sacrifice will not be in vain. Your genetic code will be most useful in breeding our next generation of slaves." Donald saw red. He launched himself at the Ferengi, a scream of primal fury tearing from his throat. The world dissolved into a blur of blood and violence as he tore through the guards like tissue paper. The Ferengi commander fell last, his smug superiority shattered by the force of Donald's wrath. Zaxor pulled Donald back to the present. "We must go, my friend. The Resistance needs this information." Numbly, Donald followed Zaxor aboard their ship, his mind awhirl with dark thoughts. Earth, his people, had sown the seeds of their own destruction, and he was the bitter fruit, a twisted legacy of their hubris and ambition. The Resistance leadership pored over the stolen data, their faces grim. The Dominion's planet killer had to be stopped at any cost. But to assault it directly would be suicide. They needed a new plan, something bold and unexpected. "We capture it," Donald said, "and turn it against the Dominion." Zaxor nodded slowly. "It could work, but we would need an army, and the Dominion's forces still outnumber us 10-1. "Leave that to me," Donald replied, a cold, ruthless calculus forming in his mind. "I'll get your army." The final assault was a thing of fire and fury. Donald led the charge, a one-man army carving a path of destruction through the Dominion's defenses. The Resistance swarmed in his wake, seizing control of key systems and turning the battle station's terrible weapons on the enemy fleet. In the heart of the station, Donald confronted the last remnant of the rogue human faction, twisted mockeries of himself, engineered for war. They were strong, fast, ruthless. But Donald was stronger, driven by a righteous rage and an indomitable will. He put them down like the rabid dogs they were. And then it was over. The Dominion was broken, their cruel empire shattered, but the cost had been high, too high. Zaxor lay dead, along with so many brave Resistance fighters. And the Avalon, Donald's last hope for his people, had been destroyed in the battle, the colonists' cryopods blasted to atoms. Donald stood on the bridge of the captured planet killer, staring out at the stars. He was alone, the last of his kind, a relic of a dead world and a tainted dream. But he was free, free to choose his own path to forge a new legacy, one of hope and healing, not conquest and destruction. He would find a new home out there in the vast expanse of space, a place to start over, to honor the memory of the fallen. As the planet killer leapt to warp, Donald looked to the future with weary determination. The journey would be long and hard, but he would not falter, for he carried the fate of humanity on his shoulders, and he would not let them down again. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.